Amy Brandy's an epic agent in the Charleston, South Carolina market. She's joining the podcast this morning. Amy, welcome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited. It's my first ever podcast, so I'm excited.
I love it. Well, I think you chose a good one. This one's pretty easy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join the podcast. How's everything in Charleston?
It's great. It's
Yeah,
beautiful and sunny today, so I
yeah,
can't complain.
yeah. It's pretty sunny here in Charlotte too, but I'm starting to feel that summer humidity already.
Coming for sure.
I'm not going to complain though. I'm not going to
Right.
complain. I love Charleston, by the way. It's such a beautiful town, beautiful area of the country. The Low Country is just a real gem. So
It
I,
really
I
is.
would imagine that you and your colleagues are staying pretty busy these days, helping people move to the Charleston
Yes.
area.
Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people are loving exactly what you said, the low country lifestyle. We're seeing so many relocations all the time. So obviously keeps the market going, but I absolutely love it and I completely understand why people are flocking here.
Your Instagram profile caught my attention for one reason in particular, and that was that you are an advocate for helping other agents grow their own businesses, and you're a transplant to the Charleston area, and that's a big part of your story and how you're able to expand and grow your business there locally very quickly. So before we dive into all that good stuff, let's just go back in time a little bit and share for listeners a little bit of your background. Where are you from, and what drew you to real estate as a career, and what drew you to Charleston?
Yeah, so originally I'm from Connecticut, so up north. Have been drawn to kind of just being down south in general. I have three kids, and while we were up north, my husband and I, we were just, ready for a change, ready to kind of have a different lifestyle, be outside more. Winters were not our thing, and we were just ready for a change. And so we were really drawn to the Charleston area just for specifically kind of like that master plan community feel, which they really didn't have that concept up north. New construction and, just the master plan community where kids could hop on a bike, amenities, pools, all of that, but then also being so close to the Charleston beaches and, just downtown in general. So that was it really we just really knew Charleston was kind of the area we wanted to be in just for all of the things. So yeah, I think, and that's what a lot of people are seeing too, which is why, this area is becoming such a popular relocation destination.
For sure. Yeah. So are you guys in a situation where you could kind of pick where you work? Obviously, as a real estate broker or a real estate agent, you can ply your trade anywhere, right?
Yes.
Was your husband in a similar situation? Is he able to work remotely, or was he able to, or did
Yes.
he have to transfer?
So we were kind of in a situation where we actually were wedding photographers before I decided to kind of get into the real estate world. So we were wedding photographers. I kind of had my own business on the side as well, just doing sort of family photography, which was really successful, and I absolutely loved doing it. And so we kind of decided that we were going to make our move to the Charleston area, and that was going to be our main focus. Actually, it was going to be, kind of taking our photography business, which we grew on Instagram, and so we knew that we could kind of relocate, and with just the business we still had and just sort of the marketing techniques that we had, we knew we could probably grow in that area, and we did. So I, was doing photo shoots all the time on, the beaches of Charleston and doing all of that. And it's what I had done for almost 10 years. And I, knew that it probably wasn't something I wanted to do for long term. And how I kind of got into the real estate world was when we were relocating, I spent so much time researching the area, researching builders. I knew I wanted new construction, so I knew everything I could about all the builders in the area, all the new communities, where was going to be the best place for me and my family. So that was a big deal for me. So the amount of research I did was pretty extensive. And so when we got here, we kind of started our, photography business, and I really miss kind of just getting in. I still was so into all the new homes that were, being put up all around us, all the new communities happening. I would find myself driving around just being interested in all the new areas. And it just kind of led into that. I just decided, I want to change. I want to do something. I saw the area booming and I'm like, I want to be part of this. I feel like I know so much already. And when we were moving here, I also felt like I didn't really have the support that I, really wanted on the other end, as far as having somebody I can bounce ideas off of, or somebody who really knew the area that I could trust to help guide me. I felt like I was kind of doing it on my own. And so that just kind of all led into one. Like, I want to be that person I wanted for other people who are relocating with their families. And that's sort of, we had just said, I'm gonna need my real estate license and let's do this.
That's one of the best whys I've heard
Yeah.
in a while about what drew someone to real estate as a career. And I love that. I
Yeah.
love that story that you shared. So you were one of those who just really enjoyed the research process, right?
Yes.
Really enjoyed getting to know the area and all the technical details about where to choose to buy a home in the Charleston market. So that's cool. And I can see how that, the other thing that you mentioned that I really loved was that you found sort of a void in the marketplace, sort of a need that was being
For
maybe
sure.
underserved.
Yes.
And so one of the inspirations for launching your real estate career was to fulfill that need. And I think that that's a real common trait among very successful business owners and entrepreneurs and real estate agents is identifying that niche, that need in the marketplace
For
and
sure.
building a business around fulfilling that need. So I love that.
Thanks.
I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of master planned communities as well. Is that
Yeah.
where you guys landed?
We did. So we landed in one and then kind of learned all about the area more just being here. And then we ended up kind of relocating to another one not too far away. Just it made more sense just kind of location wise. Obviously, when you move to a new place, you don't know everything about the area. And then once you live there for a little while, you kind of find maybe a little bit of an area that makes more sense for you. And we kind of, went that route. But still in a master plan community and I still absolutely love it, which kind of why I do a lot. That's where I do a lot of my marketing and, a lot of my business is within those few master plan communities in my area.
Yeah, that also makes total sense. And
Yeah.
I love that as well. I think that's so important to for a solo agent to sort of, select a neighborhood or two. It also helps if you live in the neighborhood, obviously.
Yeah.
That's ideal. So if there's a neighborhood that you want to serve, definitely consider moving into that neighborhood if
hmm
possible.
Yep.
But I love that. Yeah. I love like just focusing down on specific areas of the community and, just really going deep into those areas. So that makes a lot of sense. Professional photographers, that makes sense as well. Now I see why your Instagram feed is so well curated and the imagery looks so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that makes
That
a
was
lot of
another
sense.
reason, we're like, kind of jumping in because my husband as well, sort of, it has definitely helped me in becoming, kind of with all the video production and photography and all of that. We had all the equipment too. So we were like, we can, instead of doing the marketing for our photography business, we can kind of market a real estate business,
Hmm.
and see what happens. And that definitely, the background in the photography and videography was helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the key too to succeeding, well, first of all, Instagram is such a visual medium and it's one of the best channels for a realtor to market themselves for sure. And I think that what I love about your feed is that there's so much more great personal content that about you and your husband and also helpful content as well. But it's not just photo after photo after photo of a home like a stock, that it starts to look like stock photography after a while. So I noticed that about your Instagram account too. I think that's excellent. So that
Thank
makes a lot
you.
of sense. All right, so tell me a little bit about so when did you move to Charleston?
So we moved in it was right, we kind of like after COVID, about 2021, early 2021.
Okay, so yeah, the southeastern market was going nuts, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. Yep.
That's a good time to jump in, but super competitive time as well. So you had to kind of, for sure, differentiate yourself in the marketplace, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I got my real estate license. It took a little while to kind of realize that this is what we wanted to do.
Hmm.
Got my license in August of 2022. And so that's when things really, they were still really booming, especially in Charleston. And I feel like it never really actually slowed down. So it was definitely a nice time to get in. But yes, I mean, in the Charleston market, it's also, I mean, there's over 8,000 agents. So you definitely, I knew I had to do something to kind of stand out amongst all these agents and also all these, seasoned agents as well, because
Hmm.
I'm new, I got to figure out my kind of avenue. And so, yeah, I use Instagram a lot to kind of, start the whole process.
Sure, absolutely. Raise awareness about your
Mhm.
brand and
That's right.
help the community get to know you a little bit better. How did that first year go for you?
So actually it went really well. So right off the bat, I kind of knew that again, with all these agents in the area, I kind of knew I had to really focus in on an area that I truly felt like I loved or that I could actually relate to other people with. So very early on, I kind of niched down into that area of I knew I loved new construction. I knew I knew so much about it already just from researching, everything on my own from my own personal move. And then just kind of having that relatable, the fact that I relocated from an area with a family, I knew that I could help other moms and just families in general do the same because I knew how hard it was. So that's kind of where I started to really focus my marketing on is hey, I did this. I know people are looking to do the same and I can relate. I get it. You're looking for new construction. Let me tell you all about it because I did it for myself and now I want to help you.
Yeah, and all that research that you did that led up to your move
That's
is
right.
is all fairly recent and fresh in your mind and easily transferred or applied to helping those who are also in the same situation. So you can make builder recommendations, neighborhood recommendations, and probably a short list of preferred vendors locally, like movers and storage
Yes,
companies and all the
absolutely.
things, right?
Yes, for
Do you,
sure.
do you have most of your transactions been on the buyer side or the seller side or about 50-50?
So in the beginning, it was mainly buyers, right? So I
Yeah.
was kind of marketing towards people relocating. So that was really my big niche of just, you know, relocating people and helping them find a new home in the Charleston area. Recently, so the first year, I think that was mainly all I did was buyers. Then I kind of started to get even more specific and niching down into really two specific communities. Obviously still in the new construction, but really learning everything I can and providing educational content on those two specific communities that I have started to transition into, I would say 50-50 buyer and seller because now that I've kind of positioned myself as, I guess, say, the expert in these specific communities, I have now sellers reaching out saying, I know you know this area more than, anybody. You obviously know the new construction side and kind of can use that as leverage to help sell my home based on timing and just what builders are offering. I've been seeing a kind of a shift where I'm now getting many more listings than I was obviously in the beginning. And I think that just, positioning yourself as sort of that neighborhood community expert has helped a ton.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a natural shift in your business for sure. So I love that we're back to the topic of really narrowing down, niching down to, or niching, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, however you want to say it.
Both are technically correct, I've
That's
found out.
right.
So, but niching down to, one or two specific communities and neighborhoods. And I think that's so, so smart. One of my favorite marketing gurus that I've followed for a long time, almost 20 years, is Seth Godin. And I don't know if you're familiar with Seth Godin at all, but he's a, sort of a marketing Yoda, and he's written, I don't know, 22 or 23 books on
Wow.
the topic over the years, and some of them have been really, really great sellers. The Purple Cow, Tribes, All Marketers Are Liars. The list goes on. And but anyways, something that he preaches time and time again, especially later on in his career, more recently, he's really emphasized the importance of picking a niche an inch wide and going a mile deep,
Yes, I love
right?
that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so I always try to remember that when I'm in my own marketing. Am I casting too wide of a net, or am I serving the people that I really the community and the people and the types of clients that I intend to
Yeah,
serve, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that. What are some other ways other than Instagram? What are some other ways that you engage with these neighborhoods and these communities?
So early on, I also, knew Instagram was going to be a big, obviously, part of my business, but I did start a YouTube channel as well, and that
Perfect.
has been a huge part of my business as well. Obviously, being able to share full-length videos of, say the floor plans of all the communities, builders, kind of doing neighborhood highlights, all of that, being able to really go deeper. Obviously, you can do a 60, 90-second reel, and, that's great, but being able to really provide true education on these builders, true insight on just the neighborhoods and just highlight everything. Obviously, being able to put that in true video format has been amazing. And so that's also kind of how I market listings now as well, kind of doing, YouTube videos, being able to run ads on those videos too. So YouTube has helped a bunch. When you Google a neighborhood, hopefully my face pops up on the link of watch this video.
That's right.
I've had a number of people reach out and say, hey, I saw your videos on YouTube. We're thinking about moving to the area. Can you help? And so, it's awesome.
I think that's so smart. I'm a huge advocate for utilizing YouTube as a marketing channel. When it comes to my own marketing, of course, I participate in Instagram and Facebook. Normally, all that content that I post on social media is repurposed content from either a blog post that I've written or a YouTube video that I've shot. And the beauty of that is that, as you mentioned, YouTube is the second largest, most popular search engine on the planet. It's also Google's child right now. So, so when
everybody Googles, right?
Right, everybody Googles. So the video content has been rising to the top of all searches and relevance and importance over the last several years. So when you Google a topic, there's a really good chance that if there's some video that's been produced that serve those keywords that you're searching for, that's going to rank pretty high. So that's really smart that you do that. I love that. Yeah, and those long form videos are easy to edit, crop into reels, and and there's a lot of AI programs that'll do that for you. So it's pretty accessible. I love that. So you do a lot of local community stuff, highlights on your YouTube channel as well?
I do. Yeah. I would say that's kind of mainly on YouTube, just really highlighting neighborhoods, communities, builders, what you can expect, from a builder, and just, some other just educational content on there, but mainly, and just, questions and answers and all of that for buyers and sellers. But mainly it's really just being able to go deeper than you can really, than on Instagram to give a full length video of, here's what it's like living in this community, or, this is what this model looks like. Let's do a full walkthrough of it so you can feel like you're here, because a lot of people are buying from out of state, at least in my, where I am. There's a lot of, relocations, and it's like, I can't be there for everything. I can only come down for the weekend. So I need to focus on, 2 areas. And, so you can kind of go through all of my content and then really narrow it down based on what they've seen.
Yeah, I think it's so important. A couple of locally here in the Charlotte area, I specialize in the Lake Norman region of Charlotte. It's a suburb of Charlotte. And so it's very similar. I get a lot of folks who are sort of cross shopping the low country and the lake country, right? The lake region and the low country. Absolutely. So I do get, so I'll definitely have to stay in touch with you, because I would love to have, when I have a client coming from California or Connecticut that says, well, Lake Norman's one of the areas we're going to explore. We're also thinking of South Carolina. I would love to be able to refer them to you. So
I love that. Yeah.
But I've forgotten. I've lost my train of thought. What was I saying? So YouTube's so important. Video is definitely higher and higher of importance when it comes to search. So Google search. Oh, I was going to say some of the most successful local agents in my area that I've connected with, and I've had a couple actually on this podcast. One in particular, Nicole Leininger, she relocated here, I think from Denver, Colorado. I can't remember, in 2020. Became very quickly, just blew her business up very quickly, and she leaned really heavily into YouTube. And she credits a lot of her YouTube work for growing her business quickly. And last year, I think she did, hope I'm not too low on this figure. Last year, she was either 39 or 40 million, I think, in closed volume. So from 0 to 40 million in 5 years, that's really amazing in a super competitive market.
Right.
But she's one of the very few that have really gone deep into YouTube here locally. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot to that.
There really is. I know. I feel like it's just really coming out to it. I think some people are like, did I miss it? And so no, I think, video marketing is where it's at. And to run a successful business in where we are, I think video marketing is the way to go. You can't be successful without it, in my opinion.
I agree, and I
Yeah,
think it's still the competition is still relatively low
right,
in most
exactly.
markets on YouTube. So I would definitely encourage. It's much more competitive on social media than it is YouTube right now. So I would definitely and I would argue that the views and the leads and the connections that you'll make through YouTube are more valuable generally, a higher percentage of value than social media. All right, I'll try not to digress too much. When it comes to marketing, I can really geek out.
Yeah, no, same. I
So
know.
I get excited when I get on that topic. What about some non-digital ways that you've engaged with the local community and neighborhoods?
Yeah, so, being, like I said, I kind of focus on two specific communities. I've just found that kind of really specializing in those two has actually grown my business more, just really becoming, like I said, that sort of expert in that area. And so part of that is obviously kind of staying, in touch with the people in the neighborhood. Usually I do kind of like a client appreciation, type thing where like this past winter Christmas season we did a little holiday party for all my past clients and just, other people that I've invited, just friends and family and all of that to come and take part of that. So and I did it within that one community. I actually hosted it at a model home. So it was a nice way to network with also the builder and then also bringing in people to see the model homes at the same time. So it kind of was like a win-win for both me and the builder to kind of bring people in and, host a party where, we had photos with Santa and breakfast was served and, there's lots of little things that, take home items. But so I love doing that kind of stuff. So actually hoping to plan one pretty soon for kind of like the summer months for just, like I said, clients and just people in those specific communities. But yeah, kind of, and just like staying in touch, I think, with the builder agents, I think has been such a great, because I mentioned that kind of doing it within a model home, but that's sort of a big thing that I find valuable is being in touch with all the agents that sort of, they sit in the model homes and they're obviously, selling the product, but having relationships and networking with those agents is amazing because it also helps with just a referral network as well. When they have people coming in or they have past clients who are like, we want to sell. I've had so many referrals just from those builder agents saying like, well, you know Amy. I mean, she knows this community so well and all of that. So just really being in the community, walking around, getting in and out of the model homes, and just kind of staying present in the community is I found helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea, that concept of networking and building strong relationships with these agents who
Mm-hmm.
are representing the builders.
Yep.
It makes total sense. I'm going to steal that a little bit because
Yeah.
there's a couple builders here locally that I do have good relationships with. And I feel like I should probably lean more into developing and nurturing those relationships
Yeah,
with their
it's been so
agents.
great. And I think it helps like your credibility too with just clients when they're like, we're interested in so and so builder. And I'm like, let me text, you know, let me text
Hmm.
Jack from this, neighborhood, or let me send a message and let's get an appointment, or and having that relationship and being able to kind of walk in and they know who you are, it just builds credibility for people, especially if you're just meeting from for the first time. Like I have people who are where it's like we're coming in for the weekend, can we meet and explore these communities. When you are in there and you have a presence there, it just helps your credibility as well. I think when the agents know you and they're like, she's great, you don't want to work with anybody else, like that's so nice, and you wouldn't have that if you didn't really establish those relationships with those agents.
Yeah, what testimonial could be better?
That's
Right.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing that I noticed in your marketing, I mentioned it earlier, and that was that part of your mission is to help other agents grow their business quickly
Hmm.
as you have
Yes.
with a similar strategy that I think is unique, somewhat unique in the industry. And it's really powerful what you've been able to achieve in such a short amount of time. And I think that what you have to offer other agents is super, super valuable. So share a little bit about that part of your business now that I think that is a relatively new channel, a relatively new journey as part of your real estate journey. What does that look like for you?
It is, yeah. So I feel like in the last, obviously, I haven't been in the industry for a long time. It's been only a few years, but in those few years, I have been able to grow a really successful business. In my first year of real estate, I did almost 10 million in sales. My second, 20 million in sales, and now heading into my third, like it's definitely hoping to at least do the same or double. So I feel like It is really possible to start from literally not having any really real estate background to having a successful business. I think a lot of agents think that it's going to take time. I have to, establish myself in the market. I have to build referral networks and just I'm not going to be successful in the first few years. And, they've kind of already decided that. And I just feel like that's not the case. Like you could grow a business and from nothing. And I am proof of that. Like I started from nothing. I was here. I had no family. I had no friends. I didn't have a sphere of influence. And I was able to establish myself in a market pretty quickly and grow a business in a short amount of time. And so I just now have this passion to tell other, share this with other agents and help them grow a business because again, I think that there is that misconception that it's going to take so much time and I have to put all this, I have to put in my time, my efforts, and that I have to, hustle and become this person that, potentially you don't want to be, or the types of clients, working with types of clients that you might not want to work with, that you can actually love your business and work with your complete ideal client and be really successful. And it just starts with just a few strategies, and I want to share what I did. And so that's kind of why I transitioned into some real estate education for realtors and mainly just sharing my processes and what I did, because I feel like if you can prove what you did, then you have some credibility in there. And so it's kind of like I'm trying to just share with agents exactly what I did from scratch, like from day one.
Well, I'm a huge advocate of content marketing. Obviously, I produce 3 podcasts. I'm about to launch another one for the high country of North Carolina, and I produce a couple of YouTube videos, several email newsletters for different markets, and I just think that sharing your expertise is so important. And I think that it's such an untapped way of scaling one's own business, especially as a solo agent. So how do you scale? Well, I think you scale by sharing your expertise and your knowledge, whether it's educating clients or the public, home buyers and sellers, or if it's educating your colleagues, right? Educating other agents. A couple of mediums come to mind when I think of how to do that. What are the channels that you're going to be focusing on?
So I mainly, obviously I'm starting just sort of transitioning into more of that education piece for realtors on Instagram. I kind of created this cute little studio behind me where I'm recording content that will be shared on Instagram, recording content that will be, obviously on YouTube as well. And it is, again, kind of like a new journey for me. So it's something that I'm learning. This is a new form of content that I'm doing. So it's definitely something to get used to. But my biggest goal, what I'm really trying to do and what I'm kind of working on right now is kind of creating like a course basically for other real estate agents. So recording course content in this space here, but also having, like a course to follow, like a step-by-step module guide, basically, that I'm hoping that I can get into hands of other real estate agents, which would essentially be able to have them follow a step-by-step guide, kind of encourage them, motivate them to see the power in specifically niching down in one area of real estate and just owning it and becoming the true expert, and kind of getting them to see that when you're getting really specific and narrowing down or niching down in a certain market, that it doesn't actually limit your business, it grows it. Because I think there's such a kind of a misconception to think, well, if I'm only working in this one area, like I'm losing out on all of this other business, or I might not, but really my biggest thing when it comes to this whole course and what I'm trying to share is that you could work with people, you can be in a market that you love and work with your ideal client, work with clients that you love working with. So that way real estate doesn't feel like, you're not getting burnt out, doesn't feel like such a job. You're working with people that you love working with. And it's actually, you can have a great successful business by doing it and love what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. The digital course is one of the mediums that came to mind that I was thinking of. And then also, so starting with Instagram, sharing knowledge there, and then I think that some other low barrier of entry ways of getting this going as well would be maybe live or recorded webinars, that sort of thing. But the digital course, I'm such a big advocate for that. That's another thing that I've learned a lot about over the last 7 or 8 years, and there are so many online tools that help creating and producing and selling a digital course and sharing it so straightforward and easy. I think that's awesome. You mentioned also how that concept, and I think it's so true and very common in not just our industry, but so many industries, and that is the concept of painting ourselves in a corner. If we niche down, are we missing out on all these other opportunities? So if I focus on just 2 neighborhoods in a community that has 30 neighborhoods, am I missing out on what are the opportunities I'm missing out on those other 28? And the analogy that I love to use, and I don't remember who it was. It probably was Seth Godin. And that is that if you want to start a fire, if you want to ignite something with a magnifying glass, you don't move it all over the place, a little here, a little there, right? You hold it still and focus on one spot. And I think that like when it comes to niching down and going deep into a specific area of your marketplace, that's a really good analogy to think of. So if I try to market to those 30 communities and I'm only showing up in each one of them every few months, it's a lot less powerful and effective than showing up in 1 or 2 communities every week or every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think about even too, like just the content that you're sharing or creating, right? I mean, if you're creating content for geared to first-time home buyers, to new construction, to, 55 plus or investors, or you're all over the map and you're just kind of sharing all this content, you kind of get lost and not really remembered for really anything.
Right.
And so, and obviously with just the algorithm and all of that, I mean, you're showing up for where people are looking. And so I just think that there's more of a chance for you to kind of show up on that algorithm for people who are looking for specific agents in that area more often than not. And so when somebody's looking in those 2 specific communities, my thought process is if I'm mainly doing content there, they're going to binge my content, and they're going to go through everything that I have to share, and they're going to say, wow, like I need to reach out to her. She obviously knows everything about this area that I'm considering, and I want to talk to her about it because I think she probably knows more than anybody else. So if I was only sharing just this neighborhood and that neighborhood, I may not get that credibility of, wow, she knows everything about this community of where I'm trying to be. And I think that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're only going to do work in those 2 communities. And I think that's also a misconception. It's like, well, like you said, am I missing out on, the other 30 communities? And I think that when people find you, they see the expertise there, and they obviously are looking in that area to begin with, but that's when you connect with them and you're able to, maybe there are other communities that you know about, but you're not necessarily sharing all of that on Instagram. You can still show them those communities, you can still take them, but you've already got their attention to say, hey, I know what I'm doing, and now we've established a relationship and that kind of thing, but I think when you're marketing and you're using social media as marketing, you have to get really specific to make your presence known.
I agree. Be known as the expert, and be known as the be associated with that particular neighborhood or that particular community, and just really, again, pick a niche an inch wide and go a mile deep.
Yes. I'm going to use that. I love that.
It's a great one. Yeah. I wish I had made it up. I didn't. But yeah, it's a good one. So when do you plan on, have you already started the course creation, or what's the timeline look like?
Yeah, so I'm definitely hoping to launch my new course in probably, I'm thinking maybe end of June, early July. So we have some like just back end work that we're doing on it. We've created a lot of the course. We have to do some recordings for it, kind of doing some soft launching stuff at the moment, just really kind of sharing a little bit about what you can expect for when this course is launched. So yeah, we're definitely working on it right now. And like I said, I'm pretty sure we're probably end of June, maybe early July is when we'll do our full launch. But in the meantime, we're just kind of, like I said, soft launching, just, kind of getting people ready for what would be to come. And so it's been great kind of starting with like a lead magnet type thing where here's a little bit of what I'm doing. If you comment the word niche on my posts, you'll get sort of like my free guide to niching down. And it's just kind of like a little teaser of what this main course is going to be about, which has been awesome because I've got about 450 people, I think, who have signed up for my email list, which has been awesome because now I'm just growing kind of email list who would be potentially interested in the course, which is which I do talk about in the course, is kind of creating those lead magnets and building your email list. So doing that and just kind of, like I said, soft launching and hoping that kind of people are picking it up and interested in what's to come, because it's definitely going to be great. We're putting a lot of work into it, and I'm excited to get it into the hands of other agents to ultimately help them, like honestly build a business that they feel like they could love and be able to continue doing. I feel like there's so much burnout in real estate, and there's so many people that I've talked to that are like, I'm cold calling, I'm, I'm door knocking, I'm doing all these things that just don't feel right. And I'm like, there's another way. And I can't wait to share that, that's
Yeah.
the case. And that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah. It's, how do you draw the people that you want to serve to you, and how do we work with people that we like? We want to work with more people that we like, that we
That's
line
right.
up with.
Yes.
And so this sort of soft launch is also probably helping you gauge interest as well. And it sounds like you have great interest in it.
Yeah.
50 subscribers already, and it's only been a pretty short amount of time.
Yes, it's so exciting. Definitely been I'm just excited to get it out and see, how people, respond to it, and if, it's, ultimately who it's going to help, and hearing those testimonies of, yeah, like I did it, it worked. And so, excited about that.
Yeah, the other thing you mentioned earlier that I think is so important is that once you've achieved something that you can prove, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then we can, we owe it to ourselves to share it, to teach others how to do it as well.
Yes.
And I think that's so amazing. The email marketing, that's a topic for a completely separate podcast episode. But I will say that I couldn't agree with you more about how important it is to grow and nurture an email list, earn subscribers, and then earn their continued support as well with great content. And email is king. I'd rather have 400 email subscribers than 4,000 Instagram followers all day long.
Yeah, they always say Instagram can be taken away, right? But your email list is yours. So
it's yours. You own it. And there's I think there's a higher level of buy-in when someone subscribes to your email communications. And
agreed.
I just think that there's just a higher level of commitment and buy-in there, but it's still free for them,
right.
which I love.
And I've been utilizing that now for probably over about a year, and it's definitely, I see how important it is in just, obviously with just not just real estate agents, but also just like buyers or sellers, people who subscribe to wanting to know more about certain communities, being able to update them weekly on inventory, being able to update them weekly on, what's happening in the community or events that are happening, has proven so successful. Because I've sent out inventory and I've had, people respond, I'm interested in this house, like, how do I see it? And so, it's just another way to ultimately grow your business and, build business by just email marketing, which I'm sending out this email to everybody anyway. So it's just it makes sense. And I want other agents to know that it's easy to build a marketing list. You just, if you're consistent.
Yeah.
It's another form of lead generation that doesn't require you to cold call 450 people that are on your email list.
That's right. Yeah, I think a lot of agents sort of underestimate. Many people will sign up for will subscribe to an email newsletter. I think a lot of us are scared to put some content out there and think, well, who would want to subscribe to this? But I've proven it. With various methods, various lead magnets, and even things as boring as free market reports.
Yeah,
I've even had folks sign up and subscribe just for the market reports, which is, seems awfully boring to me. Obviously very important,
really,
for a buyer and seller,
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, I love that. I love that you're integrating email and placing an emphasis on that as well. Amy, I feel like we could go on and on.
Yeah.
There's so many other things I'd love to talk to you about and ask you and get your advice on, but I've already taken up enough of your time this morning. I want to, first of all, thank you, of course, for your time and for joining the podcast. Second of all, I want to invite you to come back. Definitely would love to circle back and update our audience on progress for your courses, and just highlights of that journey, because I think that's really exciting. So I
would love to.
And I personally can't wait to check out your course. So I will definitely want to stay in touch for that. How can listeners learn more about you, the work that you're doing, and connect with you? What are the best ways?
Yeah, so subscribing to, my YouTube channel, Amy Sells CHS. CHS short for Charleston. Some people are like, what does that mean? But and follow me on Instagram. I share almost daily, new tips on just the things that I'm doing in my business. Again, kind of doing not like soft launching of the course, but really sharing small tidbits of what you can find in that course. So even if you didn't want to purchase the course, I think that other agents would still find the things that I'm sharing more valuable and be able to gain at least something that they can take and put into their business as well. So definitely Instagram, Amy Sells CHS on Instagram and Amy Sells CHS on YouTube is kind of like my main source of marketing right now, and just ways to connect, and always in my DMs too. So I love when agents reach out and ask me specific questions about I'm doing this, like what are your thoughts. I love that. I mean, it's so great. I truly do have a passion of helping people grow their business without having it feel like just hard hustle, just being able to really love your business. Like that's what I want for people and other agents, because I truly do. I love what I do. I love all of the clients that I've worked with, and I just think that if there is an opportunity for people to grow a business that they love, and I'm hoping to do that and help other agents do the same.
Yeah, I love it. I totally agree too. And CHS is the acronym or the hashtag for Charleston, and I'm in
Yes.
the Lake Norman market, and
Hmm.
LKN
Yeah,
is the
okay.
is yeah, that's so I do my YouTube channel is the best of LKN, and
Yep.
yeah, so that's yeah, it's if you're not local, you probably don't know that. But that's, I think the best of Lake Norman was already taken.
Yeah.
Amy, I'll have, of course, links in the description for this episode. We'll repurpose this, of course, and throw it on the YouTube channel as well. I love what you did there with your studio. I'm jealous. I need to do
Yeah.
something
Oh,
like that
thanks.
too. And you picked a great microphone, the Shure mic. That's a great place to. That's a
Yeah.
great mic too. So I think you're on the right track. You're getting off to a great start, and
Thank you.
what you've done so far is amazing. And I can't wait to see how the rest of this journey plays out for you. Once again, I'll tag you on Instagram and share all the links in the description.
Amazing.
Amy, Brandi, thanks again so much for
Thank
joining the
you. This was
podcast.
awesome. I love it. And I honestly can't wait to come back. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. Yeah, great
Yeah.
having you, and can't wait for you to come back too. Thanks, Amy.
All right. Thank you.